Leaving out this air as I watch you fly so high. The ocean air is healing me, so breathe.
All right, so I'm here joined today on Peaks of Interest by none other than Oscar. Oscar is
Shut
my
up.
younger cousin. How are you going, Oscar?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Where
Awesome.
where are you calling from today? Whereabouts are you located?
I'm in my bedroom in Wanaka, near the bottom of the South Island.
Wanaka. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Nice place there. How's the
lovely
weather been?
place.
It's
Great.
been pretty bad in Auckland the last while, but
Yeah,
down
yeah.
where
It's
you
been
are.
it's been cold recently. It's been cold. We had some really warm weeks, and then got real cold the past week. It's been freezing,
Hmm,
but it's looking really nice out there today. So
choice.
yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully it'll warm up a bit.
Sweet. Yeah. So, for a bit of an introduction for those that don't know Oscar, um, Oscar he's only 16 and he's really like gaining a lot of experience in many different areas in the sound industry. He's an audio engineer working for Fidelity Sound System. He co-owns Magnetic Low Sound System. Um, he was the audio engineer at Rhythm and Alps and was a front of house engineer for a few D&B artists that some might know, Bo and Kings of the Rollers, emceed by Inja, which is quite amazing that he's already at, that high end level at just 16 years old. So that's something we can get into, that journey and that story.
Yeah,
He's also a DJ
yeah,
producer, and working on his own craft. So yeah, nice to have you here, Oscar,
yeah.
and I'm looking forward
Oh, nice
to
to be here.
I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, yeah. Looking forward to a yarn.
Yeah. So it's quite curious. You're obviously very focused on the music aspect of things and like
Yeah.
engineering, producing. Um, what do you think it is that's been motivating you or calling you towards being involved with music in so many different areas, so
Yeah.
comprehensively, like involved in the music scene?
Yeah, well, I guess it's all down to the love of music. I was raised around music, as you know, our whole family was, and always just had music around me, and then just always had the thought, oh, it'd be so cool to be able to do this, either playing live or being behind the scenes, setting up a gig, making it sound nice, and then it's at the end of the gig, and everyone's like, oh, that sounded mean. Everyone's stoked, and it's like, oh, man,
Hmm.
sorted that out. It's pretty very rewarding feeling as well, finishing a good gig. There's lots of people and everyone's enjoying it and everyone had a good time by the end of it. It's a great,
Yeah,
you get a warm feeling in your stomach. It's
yeah,
quite
yeah,
nice.
totally.
But it all just boils down to the love of music and just wanting to go to more gigs and see more live music and play more.
Yeah, because music is massive for people. You can have that same warm fuzzy feeling even just when you're listening to the song
Yeah,
that you really
totally.
like, or you're discovering new music. So when you're doing that just in your own time, you can have all that feeling, and then I feel like it's a whole nother thing to share that collectively with other people.
Yeah.
If that
Oh, the
all starts,
sharing of music is a beautiful thing. I
yeah,
think just sharing art and as one thing is just amazing.
mm,
People can share emotions and share expressions without having to say many words, and
exactly.
it's great.
Yeah. So it adds a whole new level of like emotional weight and you know that even deeper, like getting in touch with like something that's really meaningful to you when you're like at a concert or at a gig, and there's like wide variety of genres, and it's like not everyone's going to be attracted to one specific genre and this or that, but I think what
Totally.
everyone is like attracted towards is that sense of like hearing
Yeah,
into the music and like hearing so much life and
for
promise
sure.
in the sound.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I
Mm.
definitely agree.
And I think the first thing that you mentioned when I said, when I asked about your interest in music was like how you've always grown up in that environment.
Yeah,
And like I come from the same environment, right, with through our extended family.
totally. Yeah,
So many times we were just kind of round a fire with a guitar, singing together. Like I've
yeah.
had that experience so many times with my family
Oh,
and that,
yeah.
and a lot
Yes.
of the time with
Yeah,
you as
no.
well.
Oh,
So
yeah,
yeah.
for sure. It's definitely some of my greater memories growing up as well. Just sitting around the fire with the family, everyone singing, laughing, having a good time. And it
Mm,
just all sort of boils down again to that love of music. Everyone's
mm,
just singing because they want to sing and like playing music because they want to play music, which is
mm.
definitely the best part about it.
Yeah, it's a great connector, like how we're all there, like in deep relationship, and then just like binded together through music. Like all of
Yeah,
us able to sing in tune, like and sing in
yeah,
concert with each other. And there's something about that that's just so fulfilling and like kind of self-evidently worthwhile and just like beautiful to be
yeah,
a part of. And
yeah.
so now
It's
it's
a very
like
beautiful thing.
fast forward a few years and you're like, damn, like I'm going to bring this to some other people, and we're going to like
Yeah,
experiment with some of the science behind it, um,
yeah, totally.
and the engineering side of things. So why do we go there now? We take it from how
Yeah,
we cherish those moments growing up to now when you're kind of advanced a few years, really looking into the art of music production.
yeah,
Um, So, how did you get into working at Fidelity Sound Systems?
yeah.
How's that all worked out for you?
So I'll take you back about 4 and a bit years ago. I went to this thing called Yami in Wanaka. It's called Youth and Adults in the Music Industry. It's a 2 day event in the Wanaka Town Hall where they bring down like P Diggs and Tiki Tane and all these tutors from across New Zealand. And they go in there for 2 days. There's like songwriting, sound engineering, like all these tutorials on what to do and stuff. And at the end, there's a showcase. And that first year, I went in. I was with my band at the time. Went in thinking I was like, oh yeah, I'll play drums, had fun. And then I went to this beat making course, and I was
Hmm.
sitting there, and they were playing the drums on the keyboard, and I was like, oh whoa, this is really cool. And
Yeah,
then the next week, I went into the music room at school and logged onto the computers and started making my own beats and started doing my own raps and stuff. And this was I was about 13, so I was
yeah,
loving it. Yeah,
yeah,
12 or 13, and just absolutely loving it. And then the next year, I walked into school on the first day, and we had like this sound desk sitting there. And I looked at it, I was like, whoa, this is really cool. Had no idea what it did, like knew how to make beats, so knew sort of what the go was with that, but still not really. And sort of just went in every day and looked at it, and the music teacher would tell me something new about it every day until I'd start doing little school gigs, and
yeah.
just like
Just like
people would be
mixing
playing it.
desk, was it?
Yeah,
How
yeah,
was
with
it?
little
Quite,
mixing desks.
quite like how many channels? Was it quite large or?
It was an X32, so a 32 channel mixer.
Well,
It's really good. It's a really good starting digital console. So a lot of people use it. I used a lot in like church and worship groups
hmm,
because they're just great, so user friendly and stuff. So perfect learning console, especially for
hmm,
me. And then I started mixing like bands in the in this just like music room at lunchtime. Would turn the speakers around and like mic everything up. And I'd be like, oh yeah,
yeah,
sick. This is me.
yeah,
And then started helping out with a concert called Max Doc that the school puts on every year. And then sort of just went up from there. And then I started working for Fidelity about a year ago. I did my first gig. Well, we put on a bush diff, which is sort of like an outdoor free party. Like everyone comes in, just another one, just everyone shares the same love of music and that same drive to want to know and listen to the best music possible. So we got Fidelity in for our techno stage, and I met Steve, the guy who runs it, and then just kept in touch with him pretty much. And now I'm working with him at quite a few gigs.
hmm, yeah. And so your role as a sound engineer for these gigs, and like as you were saying, even just in the music room at school, like was it quite a difficult, was it like a skill to learn, or was it just an intuitive ear that you had to have for it to try and like channel and mix and have it sounding well? Like how much work did you have to put into learning
Yeah.
how to do that technically versus how much like came to you quite intuitively?
Yeah, no, well, definitely a fair bit came intuitively because I knew what good music should sound like. I guess I had that theory behind me of like, this is what a good mix balance should sound like, and this is what a good band should sound like on a stage coming out of speakers. Because I've been going to festivals with my parents and stuff since I was real
Mm.
young, so I know what a good mix sounds like. But then a lot of the like figuring out how to actually do stuff, that was a lot of learning, like trying to figure out what each knob did and what each button did, sort of thing. That was a lot of learning and just took a while to get there. But sort of like anything, if you stick hard enough at it, you end up figuring it out.
Mm.
And now I sort of know that console, especially like the back of my hand, because I've used it for that long.
Sweet. And what's it like? Like, what are some of the features of it? What do you have at your disposal to adjust to help make the
Yeah.
music sound right? Because
So
obviously you're not playing the chords on the guitar and you're not determining how
yeah,
hard the drums are hit. But like, so
yeah.
how are you like in dialogue with the band to make the output sound the best? Like, what are the kind of the main um knobs that what are the
Yeah.
main features that it's going to
Yeah.
adjust?
So I've got a bank of 32 faders pretty much. I got 24, and then I know you get 16, and then uh something like 8 on the other side, and then you get to flip faders, so it's got different layers. So you can press a button and it will go to the other channel of faders. I mean the other like strip of like channels.
Hmm.
So I have all my channels laid up, kick, snare, guitar, vocals, all laid out. And then what I do is I set the gains on them, which is pretty much the input volume. So how like hard the signal is going through,
And is that for
how loud that signal will be.
like each component of the drum, like the kick, the
Yeah,
hat, you are setting the gain for each of those?
yeah,
Because they're all coming through in a microphone, right? It's not just like a live,
yeah,
like they come through a speaker system. And
yeah,
so you're really like, what if like the guitar, is it just one gain for like the guitar?
yeah. So I put a microphone on the guitar, and then it's just one gain for that, and I've got one channel. You can stereo mic it if you've got like a dual 12 cab, which is two 12-inch drivers. But it also one mic works perfectly fine. So I control the gain. So you set the guitar amp at a good level, and then try to convince the guitar player to not touch it again, which is a big trouble in the
Yeah,
world of sound engineering.
yeah.
It's been a running joke for years that the guitarist will always turn up the amp.
Try and get his part, like just
Yeah,
like to take in a lot of it. Yeah,
yeah,
funny.
that's it. And then I will go EQ everything. So this is taking out. So I look at all the frequencies from 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz, and then I can see where it's spiking and where there's not enough, and I can boost and take away some. And I want to try to get it sounding as like crispy as possible.
Mm.
So for a kick drum, you want to boost it a bit in the low end, but I also boost it around like 300 hertz to get that like slappy sound. So then you get a really like beefy sort of sounding kick, but you also get that like nice click from the beater hitting the skin.
Mm. Wow, cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
And so EQing is equalizing,
yeah,
and so you're also doing that for the instruments. So you can adjust the hertz frequency that these sounds are coming in. Basically, every channel of
yeah,
sound you have access to the EQ for it.
yep,
Wow.
yeah,
And then
totally.
you can adjust it. Like how much could you distort the sound? So if you had that kick drum, like how far could you push it to make it sound like something that's not a kick drum? Could you do that, or is it just small tweaks?
And well, so when I'm producing on my laptop, I can do that very easily because I've
Yeah.
got the access of all these different plugins and reverbs and delays and stuff. I can make a kick drum sound like a bass, because really that's all the 808 is. There's the classic 808 bass that you'll hear in like rap music and even like lots of bass music, just that hard hitting bass. But all it is an 808 drum machine, which was the stock standard drum machine back in the way back in the day. But and it's just the tail of the kick drum, and they just extended it and then repitched it, and then you've got a bass.
Wow.
But you can't really do that live wise. You more just like I try to get the instrument sounding as much like the instrument as possible. So you want to get more of like the truest sound possible. I can still put delays and reverbs and all these effects on it, but you can't really repitch it or change the natural sound to it as much.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I was just curious because I was I mean, it's always like it's always been interesting to me, the limits that sound can be pushed to. Just like if you just kind of isolate your thinking to sound, which is really just these vibrations and frequencies and degrees of intensity that our ears pick up on at different pitches and whatnot. And there's something that's just so like malleable about it. It can be just changed and like molded and transformed just with like the slider, and all it is just like just changing that sinusoidal sound wave. And
that's it.
And right, but as you're saying, at a band and that you want to just get it as close to the actual sound being produced as possible. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. You just want to try get everything at a level where it sounds mean coming out the speakers. You want to get the first thing is getting an on stage level right, so all the band are happy, all the band can hear everything okay. Because you at bigger gigs like RNA and stuff, on the stages where there are bands, you have a front of house engineer and you have the monitor engineer. So the monitor engineer worries about all the monitor levels for the bands and make sure all the bands like hear themselves and happy with their on stage sound, and the front of house engineer will just take care of what's coming out the front. But me, I'm not doing big enough productions quite yet where there's a monitor engineer and a front of house engineer. So I'm just the monitor and front of house engineer. So it's a lot more stressful because you're trying to get your front house mix right while the guitarist is like, oh, can you turn me up a bit? And my monitor's like, you got to flip through. And that's where you just got to know what buttons to press where, and like how to navigate your console the fastest, and how to get around it.
Yeah, exactly. You see that quite a bit when bands are performing, and sometimes like they're like mentioning to the sound desk, they're like, can you turn me up? Or like, can you, they're like trying to make slight tweaks as well. And so it's a real art because you're also coordinating with the band. Like that's the dialogue I was talking about. You're like really picking up on any signals from them. So you have to be vigilant, just because even sometimes it's not like they can go to the side and pick up a walkie-talkie. They're just like, you at the back there, like, turn me up, and then you've just got to be onto it. You got to know like how to do that without, touching the wrong thing, all the while.
Yeah, so you got to get a good view of the stage.
All the while making sure that the music that's coming out to the crowd is still, in sync.
Yeah. No, that's it. And that's the pain with being short, because everyone's usually taller than me in the crowd. So I was standing on my tippy toes trying to see the band, see what the guitarist is saying to me or something.
Yeah,
but
you need to pull out a stool just so you can keep eyes on them.
Nah. But it's good. It's a common thing. You got to learn to mix with your head up instead of looking down. I used to mix always with my head down. But you also hear a lot more when your head's up. If you're looking down, your ears are sort of facing a different way. These bits of your ears aren't capturing the same sound as if they were up. It's like sort of shooting into there.
Because they capture a bit of sound, your ears.
Yeah.
Because I noticed, like, obviously, if you're facing anything and you go like this, then you're like basically increasing your earlobe, and you get a whole different sound coming in. It's like it's a little bit more like, it just seems a bit more roomy, like there's more high pitch getting caught.
That's it, because it's just your earlobe is sort of just like, it's almost like a funnel, if you will, because it's the sound shooting, and that's capturing it and shooting it inside your brain, I guess. Is the simplest way I could put it, probably.
Yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
sure there's
And then if you,
a whole lot of
yeah,
complex, um, you know, bioelectric mechanisms transferring it into like audible sound, which is something, and like
I'm sure there
thought
is
and this
too.
kind of thing. It's all done at such a massively fast rate and done unconsciously.
Yeah.
Um, and it's part of the hard problem of consciousness to understand it. So in a sense, all it is at the end of the day is just magic that's happening. And so we
Yeah.
really are, it is just magic that we're
It's
listening to
just
and how we are
wizardry.
listening to it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, there's kind of, hopefully we figure out, I mean, we're pretty close to understanding it, but I mean, there's
Yeah.
obviously that gap between how things go from like objective sound waves to coming into like, it's not even mental representation, it's just like qualia of experience and
Yeah.
consciousness, and how it transfers from one to the other is like, what?
Yeah. It's it's a very cool thing to nerd out on. That's one of my favorite things to
Mm,
do.
mm,
Just to talk about sound waves and speakers and
yeah,
like the new speaker design that's coming out or something like that.
yeah.
It's me
Because
and all my mates, that's all we talk about.
there's heaps of innovation in that space too, eh? Like
Oh,
it's
it's
moving
amazing.
pretty fast and it's been really picking up. Obviously, like, did you notice during COVID, because obviously you didn't have as many gigs then, but
Yeah.
was there also less, were you paying attention to how much development in like the engineering side or the sound systems or like design of like
Yeah.
audio? Or did people,
So I
because,
guess,
yeah.
oh, sorry.
Well,
You go.
or did people have more time to focus on it? Or
Yeah.
do you really need to be experimenting with it to kind of see that?
Mm. Yeah. Well, I guess during back when COVID was a thing, I was definitely still doing sound engineering, but not to the degree I am now. Not to the, I wasn't really that into sound system culture, if you will, and I didn't know much about like my big sound systems and stuff. I was still just working on my front of house mixes and stuff. And then when COVID hit and I didn't have any gigs, it was like, oh, bummer. What should I do? And then I got rid. That's when I started focusing on my producing craft a lot more because I knew how to produce, but sound engineering sort of took a standard over that for me. And then COVID hit, and I still needed a way to release my musical outlet in a way that wasn't just like playing guitar every day.
Mm.
And I'd start like producing way more music on my laptop, and that was a great way. But I guess yeah, because recently now more than ever, especially with the technology we've got, the speaker designs are just becoming so complex and so well, they just sound amazing though. They're like the new speaker designs that are coming out, and they're all on the internet. Like you can go onto all these websites. There's an Instagram account called Speaker Plans where they upload a new speaker design every day, and
Wow.
it's got the like a drawing of it, and then you can go and like find a PDF file of all the measurements to send someone that's got like a CNC machine to cut it all out for you.
Hmm.
So it's definitely like very becoming way more innovative, but it's definitely achievable to make a speaker now with the technology we've got.
So, and are you talking like how fundamental are you meaning when you're saying like make a speaker and what you mentioned before about cutting it out like with the right dimensions?
Yeah.
Is that cutting out like the earlobe part of our ear and then you just because you're not making the like magnetic electric
Yeah.
hub
Yeah,
of it.
nah.
Is it more like the shape of the outside of it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Well, because you've got your speaker and it's made up of, I guess, two components. You've got your driver, which is like the woofer or the horn that pushes the sound out. And then you've got your box. And the box is actually arguably the more important part of a speaker
Hmm.
because it's sending because you've got the horn and then or the driver, and the driver gets sent into the box, and however the box is designed, it will push sound out in a different way, producing different frequencies. So
Hmm.
you can get sub box designs and then like top box designs or mid box designs that produce like 200 to 500 hertz. So yeah, it's just
And
all sort of different designs.
I'm curious to what these different designs like. What is the audible effect, and even not just the audible
Yeah.
effect, like how does it make you feel differently when you listen to it? Because I know at the different festivals that I've been to, more recently I've been like paying attention. Okay, like how large is the speaker system? How's it set up? Where do I need to stand such that I'm like intersecting
Yeah.
these waves at the best point, which is always
Yeah,
really
mate.
weird. Like I'm just like I'm with my friends and I'm like, "Oh, I'm just gonna like go over there for a bit and like check it out and like to do what? I'm like, see if it sounds better. Like, okay.
Yeah.
But then I go there, I'm like, because I have like a very basic like year 12 year 11 understanding of like physics and waves
Yeah.
and whatever. So
Yeah.
basically nothing, but I know that there are like intersection points in sound which actually change the like the wave height and then how that results in a different quality of sound, whether it's louder or like more
Yeah.
crisp, and that you can actually find these pockets at a festival in relation to where you're standing to where the speakers are.
Yeah.
And I notice that if I do hit the right spot, it starts to like jibe with me a lot better. Like maybe there's more bass that I feel, and so it's like a deeper like in my chest and abdomen, and it
Yeah.
just like feels it. And so the different designs of these the shapes of the speakers, is that picked up on in sound system culture, or like is it just like what are they
Yeah.
going for here when they're making these adjustments?
Yeah. So it's yeah, New Zealand, just sound system culture in general is a lot of different speaker designs. Like you'll post your sound system up on the sound system culture page. You'll be like, these are my new subs, like hand built box design, and everyone will be like, whoa, that's cool. There's like different designs and stuff. Everyone likes a different new speaker design.
Mm.
Some box designs go down to 20 hertz, which you can't even really hear it. You can't hear at that point. Anything below sort of 40, 50, you can't really hear. It's more just like that's when you start to feel it. And 20
Mm.
hertz is more like feeling it on your feet in
Really?
the ground. Yeah, you're sort of
Huh.
like it's there, but you sort of just more like feel its presence rather
Mm.
than you. A lot of the time, speakers won't even go down to 20 hertz, so they don't actually cover the full frequency range. They'll go down to about 60, 30 odd. Yeah,
Mm.
but it's actually interesting you say about moving around at a festival and going to a different spot and the speakers sounding better, because that's what you call interference patterns. So
Mm.
when the speakers are coming
I
out,
knew it.
there's yeah, from physics. Yeah,
Interference patterns, eh? And that's
yeah,
a big part of like um is it audio engineer or is it like something different? Because at that point it's like how you're like having the speakers set up and how the rig's supposed
yeah,
to look. That's still part of audio engineering.
yeah. Still a part of audio engineering, but almost just like a different path, if you will. Because then you got the system technicians who work tirelessly with a reference mic, which is a completely flat response mic, and they'll play pink noise through the sound system, which is a completely theoretically it's supposed to be equal amounts of every hertz on the frequency
Wow.
spectrum.
Yeah.
So you're trying to make that, and then you get like an RTA, which is a real time analyzer, on your laptop, and then you plug your microphone into that, and it will pick up what's coming out of the speakers, and you want to make your speakers sound as flat as possible, and look as flat as possible on that
Mm.
real-time analyzer, but maybe with a bit of boost in the bass and a bit of cut in the highs, so it's not as like punchy and
Mm.
sounds just a lot fuller. But yeah, those interference patterns, you've got your left and right speaker coming out, and they both come out and they have a focal point, if you will, where the sound waves, they'll move at the same time, therefore like duplicating that wave. And then but what they can also do is they can interfere and hit at different patterns, where one will go up and one will go down, and then causing no sound.
Mm.
So you could be walking around at a festival and you've suddenly walked into a spot where it's like, oh, doesn't sound good at all. Like you
Mm.
walked
Yeah.
into a spot and it doesn't sound that good, but the theory behind it is there should be none of that, because you spend so much time. That's where speaker placement is very key,
Mm.
by actually measuring the angle your speakers are on and seeing where they're actually pointing, so you know they can stack up and create one bigger sound
Mm.
wave.
And how close because I know like festivals like Rhythm and Vines and Rhythm and Alps have some of the best teams on in that side of
Yeah.
things, like at every stage, kind of making sure that it's all um, that there's that the interference patterns are not going to interfere with like the patterns of experience. How flat can you actually get your speaker system? Like, is it like a science wherein you can get it to like this asymptote where it's like really flat, or is there always just going to be some disturbance even from the wind and this kind of thing?
Yeah, so things like wind and even like temperature of the room and humidity will control how your speakers sound. But
Mm,
you can get it to a point where it's like almost virtually perfect in a way. It's just spending that much time on it and actually listening to each individual speaker and tuning each individual speaker differently. So you'll mute all your other speakers and just listen to your top, your left top, and then your right top, and then like move side to side and can
mm,
tune all the subs. So, because when I work for Fidelity, we work with this guy named Martin. He's actually from Wellington, but he looks after all the sound at Sky Stadium. But he is probably one of the smartest people I know when it comes to tuning a sound system. He
yeah.
just makes a sound system sound amazing. Like he'll spend hours. We'll finish packing in at 8 p.m. sort of thing, get everything set up, and then have a quick dinner, and then he'll be straight into tuning it and be up till like 2 a.m.
Mm,
just listening to the same song over and over again.
really?
Because that's also a thing that a lot of sound engineers, we have like a playlist called Soundcheck, where it's just a bunch of songs that we either know very well or have been mastered and mixed really well, and you play them through the PA, and if they sound good or if they sound how they should sound, then it's like, oh, the
Mm,
speaker system sounds good, and it's
true.
really good to get a reference of that. Then instead of just playing any old song and be like, oh yeah, I think this sounds all right, you have a selection of, I've got like 9 or 10 songs just in a playlist that I know, and then I can pull out at any gig and just plug it into the sound system and be like, oh, okay, I know that these vocals should sound better because I've heard them through another sound system and they sound way better through that. So then I'll aim to try get those vocals sounding better and like cutting through the mix a bit more.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. And then I guess the more that you like the more time that you spend listening to those songs through different speakers, like even
Yeah.
the more refined you're going to get when knowing when it sounds good or not, and the discoveries that you make in it. What songs do you have? Are they kind of
Um,
popular songs
yeah,
or just
well, it's just a selection of songs. There's this one tune. It's called "Big Noise New York" by Jennifer Warnes. It's really like really cheesy, old school sort of country sort of thing, but it's just been mixed and
country?
mastered so well. Yeah, it's like
Right, right.
country pop. It's really funny, and that's the one that the guy Martin I was talking about, he uses it a lot, and it's become a running joke whenever we hear it because it's got these two toms that hit at the start like doof, and it just sounds so full. But
Mm.
whenever we hear it, it's just become a running joke between all the people that I work with and like all my mates. We just know it as that tune, that cheesy speaker testing tune.
Yeah,
It's a banger. It's an absolute banger.
with the good masters. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then you've got like I've got a shapeshifter tune in my playlist. I've got some
Fat Freddy's.
and then also this Fat Fred Ernie. Ernie's a
Yeah,
great one
yeah.
because it's got that really low boom boom like bass, and then you've got your horns, which just I love horns for testing speakers. Horns are probably like the best instrument because they just sound so full in that upper middle range where you can just get them sounding so crispy. And if you can get your horns sounding good, then it's just like a great display
Mm.
of the rest of your sound system. You can get the rest of the sound system sounding mean. Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah. One thing that was kind of like talking about m having good masters on your tracks. Um,
Yeah.
Recently I've been experimenting like going back to putting in headphones, like even just the Apple earphones, the plug-in ones, and noticing like putting the sound quality settings on high, and then I've been like trying to find the music that is just like such an immersive experience just from listening to it. And then so
Yeah.
I was doing some of that, and I just found this whole world of like binaural beats and like three-dimensional sounds, and
Wow.
how there's now so many different dimensions available to use, um, even spatially. And I mean,
Yeah.
it's really crazy because you put them in and it's like the kind of ASMR videos where they're whispering in one ear and then they're like walking around behind you and I was thinking about it one day. I was like, I can like have my eyes closed and locate exactly where the sound is coming from and exactly where it's moving. And just the fact that our ears can then track locations of things so precisely is just like
Yeah,
struck me. It's like I hadn't thought about it like that before.
it's
And so just the how our sounds can pick up how our how our ears can pick up on sounds so well, so accurately, but it's like something that we never think about. It's like taken for granted and we
yeah,
just like really enjoy it. We don't have to think about it. Um, but when you like it's really amazing again that like one the interface that it can
yeah,
just turn into music that you can hear and receive, and then two that it's like also a spatial tracker where you can locate like whereabouts these 3D sounds are coming from. And then I think one thing like the likes of Brian Eno, who's like a mentor of Fred again, who's like popping off right now,
yeah,
he's kind of developed this genre of ambient sounds which is tied in with like these binaural sounds, and
yeah,
it's just opened up this whole new world for me recently. um and it's just like a new paradigm in like sound production. Have
yeah.
you how much do you relate to just the shit that I was rambling about then?
Well, yeah. Like, firstly, it's amazing how our ears are such a tool. Like, we can use it to judge distances and find things and judge if someone's behind us or in front of us just by our ears, which
Oh, and
is,
our
I
like
think,
our ears also keep
yeah,
us balanced, right? Like
yeah,
they all that.
yeah. It's like amazing how much of a useful tool they actually are when you actually find out about them. And that's why they're such a precious thing to look after. Like, every gig, I can't go to a gig without my earplugs.
Hmm.
Otherwise, I'll be sitting in the corner. I forgot my earplugs at a gig, and luckily I got someone to bring them down for me. But I forgot my key because my earplugs are on my keychain, and I left my keychain in my car, and I got someone to bring them down for me, luckily. But for the first bit of the gig, I wrapped up electrical tape and put them in my ears and tried to make makeshift earplugs because I just knew that it was a very loud drum and bass gig, and I knew that if I didn't have earplugs, it would have just been a very hard gig to
Yeah.
stay the whole time for.
Yeah.
Which,
And so like if you're doing that once every so often, it's probably not as bad for
yeah,
like the audience, but working there and doing that kind of week in, week out, yeah, you want to make
yeah.
sure they're protected and like looked after.
Well, yeah, because they are, if you will, my money maker. They are like what they
Yeah,
are
exactly.
like my greatest tool in the world that I want to succeed in. I need ears. You can't really not have ears.
Mm,
So you
mm.
definitely need to try and look after them. I'm gonna get some molded ones. They're quite expensive, but it's just worth it because you can get earplugs molded that have a flat response as well. So the sound that's coming in your ears is still the exact same. It's
Mm.
just
You can
quite
adjust
a,
the levels of it.
yeah, because
Wow,
that's
man.
a problem a lot of people have with earplugs, is that it doesn't sound the same as without earplugs. Because a lot of earplugs will muffle the sound and make it not sound as good. But I've just came across this brand. It's actually one of my mates' brand. He's just started it. I think I've got some. I've got some right here. They're called Rubber Dubs.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out.
That's upside
So they're
down.
just,
Yeah. And what are the rubber
yeah.
dubs?
They're just earplugs, but they're like flat response earplugs. So they
Man.
sound just mean. They're actually one of the best sounding earplugs I've come across, which is pretty cool because they haven't even started their brand properly yet.
Mm.
So, but they're one of the best sounding earplugs I've come across. I've trouble wearing earplugs for a whole gig because I try to talk to people and I'm like, what? Oh, let me take my earplugs out, and then I put my earplugs down and lose them. I've lost so many pairs of
Yeah.
earplugs.
Yeah.
But these ones I can keep them in and hold a conversation to people, and it's just feel so comfortable in my ears and whatnot.
Mm. Are
So
these do they have a like they're not no cords attached to them. They're just like
yeah, so you can put a cord with them. Like, they've got that which is a cord you can put on the end of them if you want, or you can just have them in your ears.
right. Because like that molded earplug. You know, a lot of the musicians when they're performing on their stages will just have like these earplugs in. Would it be a similar thing in that the, or is that just like, so the sound that would be playing for musicians on stage is
Yeah,
is like exactly what they're hearing, but just not obviously so loud at them.
yeah. So those things that you say that the musicians have in their ears are actually in their monitors. So they're
Mm.
earplugs. Like they're like almost like the ones I'm wearing.
Yeah.
So they've got a pack in their pocket or in their back pocket or something. And the monitor engineer creates a sound with the speakers on stage, but he'll also mix those in-ear monitors. So there's a
And would he want
playback.
them like the same, or is there ever utility in having what the musicians listen to be different than what's actually being played?
Yeah, it's usually like quite different. Like the drummer will usually want maybe more of the bass and less of the vocal, or like more
Oh,
of the
yeah.
vocal and less of the guitar. So you like sort of you tailor it to what the musician wants instead of how the crowd wants it. Because the
Yeah.
crowd can't hear what's happening on stage. Like the
Yeah.
guitarist could have heaps of the guitar in his monitor and like not much of anything else.
Yeah, the crowd wants all of it, but if, like you say, if you're a drummer and you're working a little bit more with the bass than like with the
Yeah,
because the singer's working off you and like the guitarist like or whatever. So yeah, it makes sense to
that's
then
it. So you
just
need a
you want your partner on stage, right? You want like the partner that you're most synchronizing with, like the bassist and the drums and like the
yeah.
singer and the, like what are the matches there? What are the
Well,
partnerships?
definitely like the bassist and the drummer. They've always like if you've got a good rhythm section, as in like your bass and your drums, then the guitarist and singer can go off and do anything. Like take Nirvana for an example, like
Yeah.
an amazing band, but you see the live performance and they're known for just their amazing live performances. But that's because the drummer Dave Grohl and the bass player Chris, they were just so in lock with each other, and they would
Mm.
play and they'd still go crazy. But then Kurt could just go off and do whatever he wanted. He could play any note really, and Kurt and Chris would, I mean, Dave and Chris would just keep going and just like keep playing together.
Mm.
And they were so in lock with each other that he could just go off and sort of do anything and like sing
Mm.
whatever he wanted and it would still sound good.
Yeah.
So definitely like your bassist and your drummer are definitely like a lot of gelling together.
Mm. Yeah, I noticed that at the Red Hot Chili Peppers, like the drummer and then Flea's the bassist, isn't he?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah. And
noticed that,
Chad Smith is the drummer.
yeah, I noticed Chad a lot of the time was just like just looking straight at Flea and just like playing off him, and then like Flea would turn around, he's like playing the bass back, and th
Yeah.
like those guys were locked up. And I noticed that
Yeah.
rather than Chad Smith like looking out into the crowd and like kind of taking that in, he was like, "Nah, I'm focused on my guy right here." Like, and it kind of gave off the feel that, like, I mean, Red Hot Chili Peppers, absolute legends, and like I saw them, I hadn't really being too invested in them like growing up. Like dad had always been playing them,
Right.
so I knew their songs. But when I
Yeah.
saw them live, like the game changed. Like it was
Oh,
so
yeah.
ridiculous. And it looked like they were so authentic. It looked like they were just a group of friends that were still just like playing in their garage.
Yeah.
And then they were just on stage in front of like tens of thousands. But the way that they played, the looks that they were giving each other, just like the subtleties of their presence on stage, just had real warm vibes. And and then like learning again that there's actually maybe he was actually like listening to more of the bass through his
Yeah.
like earplugs and then vice versa. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing because it's again just about that comfort on stage for the musicians. If you're comfortable on stage and feel happy and like locked in with your bandmates, then it doesn't matter where you are. Like you can still have a mean time because they wouldn't care about the crowd. Like they obviously do, but if they're locked in with their bandmates and they like, as the drummer Chad looks around, he's like got three of his best mates standing right around him, playing the same song as him and playing in
Yeah.
time with him, and they're all locked in for that one moment, and it's just like, oh, I reckon there's no greater feeling than playing to people and being locked in, like when you're playing. Even
Yeah.
DJing,
That's
even when I'm DJing, like
yeah.
playing to a crowd and the people are dancing, it's like, oh wow, this is really cool.
Yeah. That's really that moment when it starts to synchronize. And yeah, some of the more profounder moments come from times like that because it's like
Yeah,
it's just like deep connection through this flow state. And it transcends all like words and categories that you can put to try and describe. Like it's a really like, you know it not by anything that can be said about it. You don't even know it by like procedurally just like dancing in time or like, doing the right things. You don't even know it by the perspectives that it gives you. Like, you know it by really being there and participating in it. There's this real quality of presence that you can't strip away from it. And that, yeah, it's it's the same thing with consciousness. You know it by knowing it, like by just participating in it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so that goes beyond all the things before it, like the propositional, perspectival, and procedural. It's like just surrounds you in a way that kind of transcends you, and then you're in that moment. Yeah,
it's amazing, because it's just like, if you were an alien or someone that had no idea what dancing was, and you walk into some bush stuff or some party and you just see a group of people just making these real weird movements all in the same time, like, because everyone's dancing to the same song, so they're all in time, just doing different movements.
it's all in time, and there's a lot of similarities there, but there's like also so much variation and uniqueness around it. So it like maintains the kind of individuality that people have, but then it's also just this big concert. And so it's like it's like a stratified organism in that there's like a lot of different parts, but everyone is like binded through these fields of music, and then just like start to work in unison and like feed, like, and there's a really amazing feedback loop to use a pun, that happens between like the DJ or the band and the crowd. And how the DJ's like playing his set, and you DJ. I DJ'd when I was in like
DJ Alley Cat.
Bring him back. I DJ'd when I was in I was basically from year 10 and year 9, but then in year 11, no, actually in year 13 was when I like actually did some gigs. And some of the like best moments from experience didn't really matter the size, like whether it was to 300 people or to 10 people in the garage. It was the moments of like locking in and just being so there with someone. Those were just like the more amazing moments that came. And so then it was the way in which they were kind of feeding back to you something, like their enjoyment of the music is something that you pick up on, and then that helps you to enjoy it and you to play better and you to be more focused in, and then and then it's like a better experience for the listener. And so there's like a reciprocal opening to like that deep participatory connection to like whatever it is that the sound is invoking. Maybe it's just taking us back to like our primal nature of being together with like other people in our tribe, and like being around a fire and like playing the drums and like dancing and like these kind of small festivals that we had. And I mean, now it's just like we've taken that model, like scaled it, added in all this technology, and we have like festivals, and we have the Red Hot Chili Peppers and this kind of thing.
Oh, it's so cool, because like you look back in the day, and it was like way back in the caveman days and stuff. It was just like people banging on rocks and banging sticks together, and like, but they were still banging sticks together like in the same tempo with each other, and they were moving to it. And it's just evolved so much to the point now where we're playing tracks to each other and playing music to each other. And I think like even sharing music, it's one of the like greatest gifts, I think, because you can share a song with someone and you can instantly make someone's day. Like just by one song. Like, so you could show someone a song that could be their new favorite song, and they could listen to that song for the next year, and it could be number 1 on their Spotify Wrapped or something by the next time. Like, it's just like you've given them a gift of you've given them like the gift of like something that you can think about, and something that you can spend time on, and something you can like almost evolve in a way.
You've given them new life.
Fully.
Yeah. Have you heard the new Skrillex album, Quest for Fire?
He because did you know he released another one the other day?
Yeah. He released
Yeah,
two.
so he released two albums. I heard both of them. The first one that was actually like a lot better than I thought it was going to be. It's great. I think
Hmm.
a lot of the tunes on there. He you could tell he spent a lot of time on all of the music he's created, and he actually put his heart and soul into it, which is very uh very like applaudable almost, because he
Yeah.
put his heart and soul into it, and you can see that he actually like worked on his music and didn't just make it and then be like, oh, I'll release it. Like I don't really know, but I'll release it. He
Hmm.
actually spent time on it, and that's also what Tom Scott from Avondale Bowling Club in Homebrew did.
Thank you for
Like,
bringing up Tom Scott, man. He's like, that guy's a legend.
he's the Don A. He is like,
Yeah.
oh, he's amazing. Because
Yeah.
he obviously that new album that Avondale Bowling Club put out, Trees, he had a test press on vinyl ready for it and like all ready to release in March last year. Listened to the test press on vinyl and was like, no, I don't like it. Rewrote the whole album.
Hmm.
Like he shelved a full album that he created just because he didn't really like it.
And was it mostly the same songs and he's just like remastered it, or did he have to like write new songs?
I'm pretty sure he like wrote a whole new album. Like, he wrote most new
Wow.
songs for the new album. Yeah,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
just
And
crazy
I
because he
mean
just
that's gonna be
yeah
the gift from this the gift of new life from this podcast that we'll give out to people is the Skrillex album Quest for Fire and Tom
yeah
Scott, Avondale
and
Bowling
yeah
Club, Trees. Like
yeah
go
that
and listen to
album
those
is
albums. Maybe earlier on in the day, do Tom Scott's,
yeah
and then later at night do Skrillex. But yeah,
yeah
yeah, yeah.
oh yeah
No,
for
I think,
sure
and there's a connection between them, which is for me just the really high quality sound, and then on the Avondale Bowling Club side, it's like the really provoking and prominent lyricism, and so you get all these different meanings that are in concert with like the 6 or 7 piece band behind him, and this like jazzy hip hop flow.
yeah
And so then like the meanings of what he's saying really brings out the instrumentals, and the instrumentals really like help bring out like what words he's putting out there.
yeah
I've been really struck by that new album Trees, um, like musically, but then also from the perspective of like what he's speaking to and the place that he's speaking from. Um, like I've really been in awe of it the last few months.
yeah
Um, yeah.
yeah that new album Trees is a masterpiece. He's just done so well with it, I think, and he's getting like publicity overseas. He released a show in London like
Mm.
2 days ago, and it
Sold
sold
out.
out in a day. It's just amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so
It's
cool.
like, yeah, so good for him to, yeah, be achieving that. And I mean, it's like, it's no surprise that it, like, with the quality that he's putting out, it's no surprise that, like, people start to listen to it. Because if you have a listener and you, you listen to Trees, you listen to a track like Rent's Too High, um,
Yeah,
or you listen to a track like Friday Night at the Liquor Store.
yeah,
Man, and if you're from New Zealand, it's like I don't think you can stop listening to it in a way. Like there's something about it that's
yeah.
so like disturbing, and
Doesn't get old either.
but
Like each time you listen to it.
it's a disturbing that doesn't make you want to turn away from it. It makes you go like shit, like I need to listen to this again. Like what was he saying, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
for sure. And you can like it all again boils down to what we were talking about earlier about this like the love of music. Like take Tom, he didn't release an
The
album
first thing,
for 3 or 4 years.
the
Yeah,
first thing you said,
he
love of music. Yeah, bring it
yeah,
in.
because he
Sorry,
didn't
you
release
got
an
what were
album
you
for
gonna
three or
say?
four years. No, no, you're good. Like, he didn't release an album for like 3 or 4 years with Avondale Bowling Club, just because he was waiting, and that obviously like shows he's in it for the love of music. he wants to put out something that he's proud of, not just to put out something that he's just going to put out. Like same with Skrillex. Like he didn't put out an album for like, he went off the face of the earth pretty much for like 2-3 years, like even more, just because I don't know, he just didn't want to put out anything he was unsatisfied with.
Skrillex was also like really struggling with a few personal issues. Like his mum passed away, and yeah, I mean, because I remember hearing him, he like opened up to it on Twitter. He was saying how he never really dealt with it. He just kind of like bottled up and kind of, you know, got into some difficult times with that. And so like how the other circumstances play such a role in like the music we're putting out, because within that music there's something that's like so connected to us. It's like an extension of ourselves and our spirit when we're putting music out there. Especially when it's like of soulful nature, because I feel like the genre of soul is kind of, I mean, one of the things, like if you notice a piece of music and you go, oh, a lot of soul in that, it's like there's a lot of that person that I'm connecting with in there. So,
Oh yeah, it's just beautiful. As you can hear Mac Miller say in his Tiny Desk concert, music is a beautiful thing. That's one of the main quotes out of there, and they all laugh about it, but it is, and it's just a beautiful thing. That's the best way to describe it, I'd say.
Music is a beautiful thing. Yeah, well, it seems like that's a good place to end it. I don't think you're gonna get any more of the message than that. Is there anything else that you wanted to say? Anyone you wanted to shout out? Anything you're working on coming up that you'd like people to kind of know about?
Yeah, well, we, as well as working with Fidelity Sound System, I've got my own project with my mates called Magnetic Glow. I've actually got a sticker right here.
Nice.
Yeah, it might be backwards, but called Magnetic Glow. So we're just a smaller speaker system, but we're just putting on gigs, and we started it about a year ago. They started about a year ago, just buying 2 subs and 2 tops, and it's just evolved into what we've got now, which is 4 subs, four mid-range speakers, and 2 tops. But they're all like really nice sounding speakers, and we rent them out once every weekend or a couple times a month. And it came down to the fact they started because we were just like, oh, we enjoy DJing and we want to make some nice sounding speakers. We didn't really know what we were up to as much at the time. Like we sort of just plugged them in and was like, oh, well, it's a sub. We didn't know it's the first time we'd heard a sub properly. Oh, it's a sub. This is cool. This is fun as. And then did more and more like just like house parties and stuff, and brought the speakers and brought the decks. And then we started learning actually almost the science behind it. And that was really cool. And then I've also got this other project with this chick called Matilda in my class. We're a duo called Spoken. And that's actually my live project at the moment. So we're doing some live stuff. I play drums for that, and she plays keyboard and sings. And that's a really fun project because it just almost takes it away from making beats and DJing and sound systems, where I can go jump on a stage and play live and lock in with her. And it's a different aspect of music, keeps it really interesting.
Very dynamic.
Yeah.
With your Magnetic Glow sound system, how are you innovating in terms of like the speakers? Like what part of music is your sound system really effective for bringing out? Is it kind of low frequencies that you can like really drive home, or is it the quality setup and like engineering behind it that you guys can help provide when you set that up? Like what's helping you stand out in that space?
So I guess in a way we're all young, which is a bonus.
Enthusiastic, right?
Everyone likes getting exactly. And we had 2 gigs last weekend. Was our 2 first international DJs on the rig. So we did Killjoy, who's a mean DJ, like garage, speedy garage sort of thing. We had him and Rove on the Saturday night, and then on Sunday night we did this pretty big drum and bass MC called DRS. And those 2 gigs were like the best production we've had, like lighting wise. Like we figured out how to DMX all the lights up. We did video stuff and like met the best the speakers have sounded. And then we also it's definitely focused towards that bass music sort of stuff, just getting the nicest, cleanest bass quality out of, because we're limited to 4 subs, or like however many subs we have, but we try to push the quality as much as we can with those 4 speakers, almost trying to get 4 speakers to sound like 6, or 4 speakers to sound like 8.
Hard out in the same way that when you're playing, like when you're DJing, it's not so much about how big the audience is or how big your sound system is, but it's like about the quality of that experience. And so it's like about the quality of the speakers, how like, great the music's sounding, right? How quality it is. And I think that like bass is very in vogue at the moment. You know, drum and bass is very
drum and bass.
New Zealand. It's just the drummer and the bassist, man, and like everyone's like, shit.
That's all it is. They're locked together, and it just creates a new genre of drum and bass. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, it's been so nice talking, Oscar.
Oh, it's been awesome to be on the podcast.
Yeah, I wish you all the best with your endeavors in sound engineering and DJing and producing and running Magnetic Low. And who knows, maybe in the future there will be an event put on where Magnetic Low's featuring, and I've got some things in mind, but I think that linking up in the future for a gig, bringing in Will McLean could be I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
It'd be rude not to.
Exactly. All right, choice.
Oh, awesome. Thank you very much for having me.
And we go up, 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 up.